into the category that we're talking about. First of
It,
all, there's plenty of space, to get around. There's a back alleyway, isn't there? Whatever there is. I mean, I
yeah.
remember having conversations with the people behind me, like all around me. So getting in and out is not a problem. You know, these shows that are that are on the street that you're squeezed in with nothing behind you or just a little behind you, that's what this is about.
Well, plus at our show, you don't have to put up a canopy, so you don't have to
Yeah,
be exactly
yeah,
10 by
right,
10. Excuse me.
yeah.
Bonnie, how are
Bonnie.
you feeling?
Okay. That's the nothing answer.
It's all
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I'm feeling okay too.
someday I'll say I am great. Jeez.
Oh,
So
here's our first artist.
You mean who's in this judging?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to be polite, huh?
oh no, I'm so glad Annette is here. I've been dying to talk to her.
Oops. Get it to work.
Oh, Annette, I've
Yeah.
been dying to talk to you because
no.
I finally got to see the critique. Okay, I've give me a minute here. I finally got to watch the video of the last.
Did you watch the mock jury or just the last Zoom meeting?
No, I watched the mock jury.
Okay, because it's been deleted.
Well, I'm glad I watched it when I had the chance. But that is a killer, absolutely killer booth.
Oh, well, thank you.
Absolutely. That booth would draw me in so quickly. What I want on your side wall is a big thing of explanation on like the stands and the spheres. And oh my God, I thought I liked the spheres before, but I absolutely fell in love after seeing how you display them. And can you buy them separately? Or
yeah, the first couple of shows I did, and then I kind of stopped that because an artist that had a lot of experience told me you need to make them into sculptures so you can sell them for more money. But I think I sold a lot singly, so I should probably, go back to that, probably to have that option just to buy a single one.
can you do both?
Yeah, I mean, I could do both. Yeah, to
Yeah,
have some. But then it's like she said, don't put them in a basket. So then it's like, well, how do you display them by themselves? So I have, unless they're just sitting in a little stand on a shelf, I guess. So that's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been, a process of learning every time I have a show. So
I had to tell you that
well, thank you.
This just blew me away. I just loved it. I have seen millions of booths, both in my jurying and my 43 years of doing shows. And there are very few that get me really excited these days. I mean, there are a lot of absolutely beautiful booths, but this one, Deb Koresh, who's a metalsmith, she had just, and it almost has the same kind of feeling as yours. Back when she was doing shows, she had this really off the wall booth. And again, we don't have to all look the same. So I can't wait to hear what this booth does for you.
Okay, well, that's good to hear because I was afraid it looks too, I don't
It
know,
does.
crafty or like just too
No.
funky. Okay.
Nope. We need
It's-
more.
With your individual pieces.
It suits your work perfectly.
Yeah.
Yes.
The booth looks like art to me.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's, and I think I've figured out what I can use for those circles. I think I saw something at Home Depot. It's like corrugated, maybe plastic or something. And I think I could paint it instead of having the fabric. And that might be easier to do. And I could, I don't know. So I still need to go to the store, but I was looking online. So that's kind of the only drawback to that right now, because that's fabric and it takes forever to pin it up there. So I just have to, get something that's a little quicker for installation. But I like the look, but yeah, I was just worried that it looked too, I don't know.
Actually, what you need is the circular reflectors they sell at big photography stores.
Oh.
And cut the inside out and put your fabric there, and then it'll pop open.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to cut a perfect circle. It's like they're not quite perfect, but I have to get it.
And they sell them in a multitude of sizes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. I'm going to start the image evaluation because we're recording it. And if anybody comes in late, it doesn't matter. They can watch it afterwards.
Hi, Oscar.
Hey,
Hey, Oscar and Ron. Okay. Where's share? I need my glasses to read this stuff. Okay. Share screen. Okay. Do you want me to read the artist statement? Anybody?
Sure. Typically, do you think jurors read that, or do you think they just look at images?
It's read to them at projection juries most of the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
And most jurors read it. If it's a monitor jury, most jurors that I know of read it.
I hand weave silver and gold to create unique textures, patterns, and designs in my jewelry. Critique?
I can't see them.
Well, this might just be me, but I hate bad grammar or bad spelling, or to capitalized hand weaver silver. That bugs me.
Okay.
How about like going to grade school and learning correct grammar?
Let me ask you this, Larry,
Yeah.
or Barry, if you were a juror, would you score them down because of that?
No.
No, but
It's
it
like
has to do with
away in
my
the
overall
back of the
feeling.
booth.
You don't want to give a bad feel. You don't have a good feeling when you're looking. But anyway, okay.
Well, I like the fact that she shows earrings, pendants, a combination of her work, which is good.
What she said, what she's saying is that part's obvious. Is that what's intended? I mean, in terms of when the question is asked, how do you do this, or whatever the question is, on Zap. I hand weave silver and gold to create unique textures, patterns. We can see that. That's not telling me anything.
Does the blue background bother anybody?
it bugs the hell out of me. That's the
No,
that's the
Okay.
not me. I think it's a nice contrast to the silver.
Yeah, I like it.
I don't care for the blue background. For some reason, it feels jarring. I would like the items a little closer up. Someone said that the change on the first one should have been cut off right before the straight part. And I would agree with that, because the handmade chain is just delightful.
Yeah, and
The
the
straight
third,
part isn't that interesting.
right. And the third piece could be cropped top and bottom.
Yes. And I would love to see it up close a little more. I absolutely love that piece. But she has to put in there, I'm assuming that she's a she.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Oh, hi.
Uh,
I love the fact that you say that you hand weave them, because jurors that are not jewelers will assume that, oh, you can just buy it that way.
I didn't assume that at all. And I assume that everything is hand done, because that's what I do.
But you can't assume that, Barry. And you would be one of the few that assume that it's hand done.
So what I have done is I have had a new set of images done, and I've had them do the fade. I got rid of the blue background, and I've had them do a fade from black to like gray. And then I'll have them, what I'll have done next is I'll have them pull up them images closer then.
Good.
Yeah.
Good cropping will make pieces appear larger.
Okay.
Because the pieces are beautiful.
Thank you very much.
I'm a jeweler.
Ah, okay.
I just have great respect for what you're doing here. And not everybody is doing it for good reason. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah. They all think I'm crazy, and I think that's fine.
Oh, yeah. And just laugh all the way to the bank.
And that's okay.
Yep.
And as for my booth, I have purchased a new booth, but I have not been able to get it up and running yet with everything, because the blue velvet in my booth, people love the blue velvet because it makes the silver pop. And this is a booth that I've had for some years. It was a friend's booth. And so I have a new one, and I realize now that I have to have 3 full walls on the side of it. And then you probably shouldn't see the little gift bags in the back, and tighten in closer to the new cases that I'll have. It will still be wood.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay. I do a lot of juring. And do you know that I can practically tell the age of the jeweler by what their cases look like? And
That's funny.
Wood cases like this, you're probably at least 60.
Oh, yeah. You're spot on. Pretty spot on.
And I'm sorry, but that's the case, because booths right now are much cleaner.
Okay.
And more sparse. And the black bus,
they're actually dark blue, the same as my images.
Okay, they look black in the booth image, but remember that I'm seeing the booth image really little.
I know, I understand that.
And the bright blue, that's the first, on your corner poles.
Mm-hmm.
I had white on my corner poles, so I understand trying to put something there. Mine didn't look great either, but the bright blue, it draws your eye.
Yeah. So would there be a problem if you crop the poles out and just focus a bit more on the display panels?
Well, she needs the tent wall on the left side also.
Right. Right.
Well,
yeah, well, I could, when I have the next image done, I could just take the booties off. Those are mostly for the guys, because the guys hold on to the legs of the canopy when the wives are looking in there. And they don't have to hold on to that nasty metal,
I so understand that one.
All right.
Okay.
Otherwise, it looks nice and clean. The gift bags that I didn't even notice until you mentioned them, they don't bother me.
I still don't notice them.
Okay, good. Good.
All right, let's go to the next.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Each stick is made of bronze and hand sculpted into metal clay to provide an intuitive organic feel. No casts or molds are ever used, keeping each unique.
I love them.
They're cute,
They're
but
different.
the statement makes no sense to me whatsoever.
And the booth could be cleaner, but the individual pieces are unique.
Now, there was a lot of criticism of this booth during the last mock jury. I don't get it. The booth looks fine.
But does that not go fundamentally to what the booth the booth image is supposed to represent to the jury? Is it supposed to show you what the booth looks like overall, or is it supposed to show you the work and the booth? You know,
Which it does.
So what is the purpose then specifically of a booth slide? Why was it criticized, and why did it not fit the mold of what it's supposed to be?
I don't know.
That depends on the jurors.
Yeah, for me, this hits all the proper, things that you're looking for in a booth image.
The only thing that you can say about the booth image is not super sharp, but other than that, you can still see everything in there.
I mean, on the previous jurors' work, when the booth slide didn't have the outside panel, you're saying, well, we need to see all three walls of the tent, even though we know the tent has three walls to it. So if you're saying this shows how they're displaying their work, the kinds of bin or the kinds of pen or whatever pedestals that they're using to show their work, the racks, it seems like it has everything there it's supposed to have to show a juror, this is what my booth will look like to the public standing in front of my booth. This is what they will see.
I'll tell you what throws me is on either side above the pedestals, the white walls, they become the focal point because it's the brightest area in the picture.
Didn't even notice them.
And the only thing that I noticed was that the top of the tent seems to be angling down to the left, but as a juror, I would hope I would never penalize them because the panels appear to be fairly level. Again, it goes to what is that booth slide supposed to represent to a juror? And I'm with Bonnie. I think it looks pretty good.
I mostly see the floor and the gray wall. That's what I see. I don't see too much of anything else.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well,
I don't know.
Cropped.
I don't know.
Bottom.
You scrub the bottom.
Yeah. But now, and it would be nice maybe to suggest that to them, but would you score them down because of how this booth slide looks?
No.
No.
No. Okay.
I wouldn't, because I don't believe the booth shot. To me, the booth shot should only reinforce the work, to show that there's a consistency, that the person is able to, that they don't just have 5 pieces and that are good, and the rest 30 years worth of crapola. They did 5 good pieces.
So in essence, the body of work that you see in the booth represents what the jury slides are showing.
Well, I can't see. I'm assuming that it is, but I can't see any of the work. You can't see it. It's too small. Or at least that's me.
It also gives you an idea of the size of the pieces, because when you just look at the individual ones, they look like they might be little miniatures.
Yeah, good point.
Sharon,
Hi, Bonnie.
What's your take?
So now that I can see and I'm off my phone. So I guess it'd be nice if they cropped out some of that asphalt, but I wouldn't, and maybe a little bit of a top, I wouldn't downscore that. I actually think this is a great boost shot because it does a really good job of showing the scale. Because when you're looking at the images, you don't know whether these things are 5 feet tall or small or what they are, right? So this gives a really good idea, I think, of scale. It gives a good idea that this is a professional looking tent, even those shelf unit things on the sides, however those are constructed. He has light in the tent. So he'll look good, she will look good during the day and at night. I just think this is a great booth shot. I don't know why it got criticism in the
The shelf units are pro panel shelves.
Oh, is that right? See,
Yeah.
shows you what I know, right? I'm not an artist, but yeah, I think it looks great.
Yep, I agree with Sharon.
All right.
If it were cropped top and bottom, it wouldn't be a different shape?
Well, it wouldn't show any larger, but there would be less distractions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it, our juries anyway, I don't think it would make two hoots of a difference if they cropped it or not. But maybe it would to somebody.
All right. Next. Unique wall and garden sculptures made using upcycled vintage glass that is hand painted, creating an everlasting flower.
They look good.
And actually, she posted a picture. She did Mystic this past weekend, and she posted a picture, and that's what this is what her booth looked like.
That is the prettiest booth.
Well,
That's
again,
a great way of displaying this kind of work too, right? So it doesn't look like junk on a stick, right? It actually looks right. It actually looks great. And this is what she does, whether it hangs on the wall or the large ones on the right or the smaller ones on the left.
and it shows the scale.
Right, shows the scale. I think it's stunning. And I think I missed the beginning of this because I was in the car, but I did watch most of that mock jury, and I guess it doesn't bother me in the least that there's no doorway to the back and we don't know where she sells stuff from. I don't care. It's like,
Okay.
I'm assuming she's got that down somehow. She's going to sell this to people. I don't care. It looks great.
It does.
That's funny.
All right, next. Bright oil paint applied to the surface of canvas, followed by a loose drawing of the subject. Limited palette of colors are pre-mixed using a palette knife and applied thickly with a brush. Finished painting is covered with varnish to bring out vibrancy and protect it from the elements.
They look good. The booth side looks good. I would ask if anybody, because of the way some people look at booth slides, the fact that they're showing a bin with matted artwork, is that problematic for anybody? Because it's not for me, but it'd be curious.
Only in a show that allows reproductions.
Right. How do you know that they're reproductions?
Well, because if they were originals, they should be labeled at the front, on the front of the bin.
Well, why can't each piece be labeled as an original?
It could be, but that doesn't help the jurors.
Well, but this is the booth shot. You're not, I wouldn't put a sign on it for the jurors.
Why? Because it could apply to shows like Cherry Creek, which doesn't allow reproductions. If it said,
then you put it in your artist statement.
I would take it out.
I would put a note on the booth image that says all originals.
Right, all originals.
Or take two shots, one with it in, one with it out. So if you're applying to a show that doesn't allow originals, you don't run the risk of complications, right? Because you could hang other artwork there, take the bin out, and just use whichever is appropriate for the show.
I would take the bin out myself.
Good point. I like the bin in because if you're going to have it in at the show, I want to see it in your booth image.
All right.
Correct.
That's true, but
everyone tells me, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, I think I agree with Ron. I think this is beautifully set up. So you take one image that's this one. You submit to shows like us who is not an original only show. And then you back it out, fill that spot with another piece of artwork so that side looks complete, shoot it again, and then use the correct one for the show so that the jurors don't have to work at it. That's like 8 seconds. So on a projected jury. So don't make us work it. You think about Winter Park, Cherry Creek. Coconut Grove's trying to get back to original only. So show them what they need to see. So they don't kick this person out with a misunderstanding.
That's right. Don't give them a reason
Yep.
to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Take it out for those shows, put it in for shows like us, and then it's really clear, because we would want to know in our case that you are selling reproductions. That's fine. We just need to know that. And
everyone tells me not to put any text in the booth because it's distracting to jurors. I keep hearing that.
Right.
Hey, wait, Sharon, I want to say something. Sharon, the booths at Fort Myers are all really great. I think they're a cut above what we're seeing, or about the same and better. I mean, all the booths are really professional at Fort Myers, as with all the work, I think. That's all.
Thank you.
Barry, you want to be a juror next year for Fort Myers?
Sure.
Sorry, friend, they're already chosen.
Hey, I have skills, let me tell you.
All right.
Sure you do.
Oh, that's
Okay.
Barry. Barry is a juror.
I have experience. Going to gallery.
Come
I
on,
have an
Barry.
education.
Barry.
Yes.
Each piece starts as a wheel-thrown form that is hand-altered with added parts. The pots are whimsical and often slightly off-center. To finish the pieces, I use the raku firing process with a copper matte glaze because of its earthy feel, its immediacy, and its serendipitous nature.
Serendipitous?
You can come read for us,
I trip
Larry.
over that word.
Say that fast 3 times, Larry.
Well, it needs to say clay. It needs to say clay.
Oh, I think because it says
that's so
wheel-thrown forms, it's assumed that it's clay.
Yeah.
I assume.
Well, Barry's a raku. Barry's a raku. So.
Right. I think it needs to say clay.
Hand altered, but I wouldn't
Like
kick somebody out of a show for that.
But the images look really compelling. They look really nice. The colors go well together, and the booth shot, it's kind of an interesting angle.
That was the booth picture from COVID.
And I loved when people did this.
So what was it about COVID that made this booth shot different?
They didn't
trap
people in the 10 by 10. Everything was hung on the outside.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Is John on the call?
Yeah, I see him. This art that I see in person, it looks really awesome in person. I think that the booth doesn't make justice, to be honest with you. You have to see it in person.
Because I'm not sure if John's here. I don't know, but I know this is John Kellam's work. I don't believe this booth was anything to do with COVID. He constructed this booth a while back as a way to bring his work and pack it and just open up when he physically gets there. I don't think it was COVID related.
So is this like a little trailer or something?
Yeah, it's a trailer.
Yeah.
There's a hitch on the back side that you're not seeing.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
Then
packs
it's
all
even
this.
cooler.
He packs it all in parts of this thing so he can close it up, and then he opens it up and pulls the pieces up to this kind of display when he gets there.
Huh.
When I've seen it, maybe he sometimes puts it under a tent. I don't know. When I've seen it, when at Art Fest, it's not under a tent. And he has a chair on the side. It's way cool. People really, really enjoy how this looks.
Yeah, it's different.
Goes with his work, you know.
And it really highlights the pieces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And his setup takes all of about 45 minutes. It's great. He pulls it in, opens it up, and he's out of there. I mean, like, it's great. And it closes up at night. It's terrific.
Jeez.
That's cool. All right, next. Starting with a sheet of plain glass, which may be colored, cut, painted, sanded, sandblasted, and fused to get the end result. Painted with glass enamels, starting with a base color and add layers to it. After firing, more enamel can be added, some fused up to 5 times for the end result.
I like the way they show a variety of the presentation styles from panoramics, triptych, square formats. The booth slide looks weak to me because all those small pieces on the wall don't do much to grab you as far as, if that's how it looks though, that's how it looks, but it's not a very strong booth shot, I don't think.
I mean, that's the size of her work.
Yeah. But see, in a case like that, is there any?
Like they're small, but they're all too high up.
You're breaking up on your voice, Mike.
No problem. I'll stop. I'll go to a better spot.
But would there be any value, without getting penalized by jurors, to show fewer panels, maybe just two sides of your booth, and get in closer and show more of the work hanging?
That's exactly what we've discussed for jewelry too, because you don't see jewelry in the cases.
And so what do you think? Yes, no, would that be helpful to make a stronger booth presentation?
You mean cut off one panel on each side and move the piece?
Or even just cut one panel off, say on the left side, hang all that work on the right side so you see their pedestal in the back right corner, but then allow those walls to become more full with work. And then come in closer just to those two walls, the back wall and the right wall.
That would work. Plus, the larger pieces should be on top.
It seems like there are pieces that are more dramatic on the side walls than are in the back, which I think they could rearrange those to be more powerful too. And whoever said it's too close to the top of the booth, I agree with them, especially on the back wall.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, it's hard because the pieces are small, but if it was spaced
but that's high level.
I guess it's just thinking about all that kind of bottom space, you know, I just see a lot of booths that's kind of is filled up. And I don't know whether that makes more sense in booth shots to kind of fill that in or leave kind of, you know, below your waist and knees empty.
Sharon, what do you think?
I was wondering if there's any way to, because it is small work and anybody that does small work has this problem. I wonder if there's a way to group it differently so that, like in that back left panel, there's the three small pieces below the square. Is there a way to group small pieces so you make a stronger panel? And I agree, move it down so it's more eye level, but
we have three pieces there are three pieces on the left side that look more dramatic than anything on the back wall.
For sure.
And if they just swap those with one of the back wall panels, it would be more powerful.
And there's two on the right, right? There's two on the right that kind of look like they go with the three on the left.
Well, the darker ones, yeah.
Somehow,
but they're also on a relatively large size for the body of work.
Is that better?
Yeah, it helps getting in closer. Yeah.
This person needs a booth consultant just to help them rearrange.
You know what I would do, honestly, is just do two lines and just eliminate pieces. Just put the bigger pieces in two lines, one on top of each other, like going all the way around. And probably just the back wall, just bring it to the front and eliminate make it like a false French wall in the back.
And also,
you know what, Oscar's right. You're right now, your eye goes all over the place. And what Oscar just described gives it a little more of a rhythm, you know, when somebody's even going to come into the booth. Because, like he's basically describing, in a sense, a pattern.
But like what Frank was saying, if you took those three pieces on that left panel and put those on the center back wall to pull your attention in, and then also I would suggest finding a way to put some kind of support under the picture so they all hang flat against the wall as much as possible, because the different angled pieces is distracting. It just kind of there's no continuity or smoothness to the presentation.
Ron, it's just that he has too much in there. Honestly, it's too much. I can tell you that's what I get paid $80 an hour to hand pictures. Mm-hmm. That's a disaster in any other possible way you can see it, honestly. You just have to sometimes put in less is better. And that's one of the things that they've been hammered to me, everybody. You have to put less work on the walls to people appreciate it. You have to put, like, if it's small pieces, you just put groupings that make sense. Mm-hmm. Like maybe 6 in one wall, 4 in the other wall, 2 in the other walls, and eliminate, because if that's the biggest can be done, you have to make it clean. Right now, it looks like somebody throws spaghetti to the wall and hopefully something stick to the wall.
Yeah. Oscar, I would think that you wouldn't need to remove that much if you group them better.
No, it has to.
Small pieces that are just hanging out. If you put them in clusters, then they would be more visually coherent, and three pieces would be one.
I will tell you right now, just glancing right now, this is not, by all means, I'm working in my booth also myself. You can eliminate easily about 10 pieces out of there and it will look much better.
Okay.
I wonder, I mean, I'm sure because it's glass, the pieces are heavy, but I wonder if they could make a couple of showcase pieces.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting, like one of the largest pieces he has is on his podium, which would probably look better on the wall.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There should be nothing there. Put that piece on the wall.
You know, I wonder if any of those pieces could be on pedestals, like on a stand, to just create a little more interest in the booth, because if something was on a stand, it could actually, or even on a shelf, but it would at least eliminate that bottom half being so empty looking.
You can add shelves to pro panels. I think Allison's got a great idea. And then they can look at them up close. I think a couple shelves will, an odd number, because I like odd numbers, would really help.
Bonnie, I think that the problem that we all have is is that everybody keeps saying to us that we have to have the three walls showing the artwork and had to show there's a 10 by 10 space, that the booth cannot give you an illusion that's smaller than what it is. And that's the conflict that probably this person is going, if you just, like in my case, I like to put my French wall all the way to the front for practical purposes, and I get crucified for doing that. And that's probably the same problem. I think that it's because for the jury shot, we had these preconceived visions of how it should be, and sometimes that doesn't work for the presentation of your work.
No, and it also, and I think your point's really good, Oscar, because it also, and this is why I asked this so much, it doesn't represent what the booth looks like if you hang, say, one piece on each wall going across your booth. That's not how your booth is going to look to the public. And if the purpose of the booth slide is to show what the public will see, that's, yeah.
Actually, so I think the purpose, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, so Oscar, you said that conflicting information and whatever about preconceived what booth shot should look like. You said something like that, and getting crucified for the French wall. So I guess my question is, by who? I mean, is this because directors that you apply to have said this is problematic, or is this circulating info? What
circulating
where this comes from?
Circulating info. I don't think the only directors that I know other than you and Bonnie, that's about it. Which I usually don't talk to directors like questions like that. Other artists that I talk, and sometimes I submit them my booth shot to, when I'm testing a booth image, I put in one of the forums, and they have all this idea how it should be. And this is coming from people that I respect a lot sometimes. Sometimes I just ignore because I know that people don't know enough, in my opinion, to give me an honest evaluation of the booth shop. But that's, everybody you go around, they say you have to have the 3 walls, no French walls, it should be a stage. And I already got one experience in Carmel, in the show in Carmel, Indiana, that if my booth doesn't look exactly like what I shot, I will get in trouble. The same thing goes with autographs, actually, in Florida. If your booth shot doesn't match what it looks in there, they dock you out for the next year.
Really?
Yeah.
So different how, I know this is off subject, but different how much, like in your booth? Like what would you be different?
Like if you don't put, for example, if you don't put the band, that's a knocked out. If you don't, if you present the layout totally different than what it's supposed to be, they also make you wonder why you have your booth shot looking this way. And then when you show up and there's a totally different event designed to sell enough for display. It's kind of weird. It's just like a,
yeah, what if you decided to just change up your booth? I mean, I always thought the booth shot was basically to weed out, to first of all, you can see the scale of the work. If the items in the booth shot are very dissimilar to the items in the jury shot, that's a red flag. Like if you're, for example, your jury images are jewelry and you're showing paintings in your booth shot, for example. You know, it's just,
yeah, that's kind of obvious things, but there's more like a, let's call it on rules, on rating rules. I don't know how to say it properly, but that's what I post one yesterday with Larry's jury imaging thing, and I was just testing before I do the real shot, and they say there was comments about the French wall. I think that Bonnie said that that's pretty accurate because she knows that that's the same way I presented my booth all the time. But other people say that shouldn't, like I know artists that tell me I shouldn't be doing it that way, that you have to all 3 walls and forget about that.
Yeah, my critique was you should hang the new work on that French wall so it's right in the juror's face.
Yeah, and I want to do that. I'm going to do that. That's what I was trying to figure out before I spend the time doing it properly, because even the floor I didn't like.
So the reason I asked is because obviously it depends on the directors and what's happening in that particular show, and people have different rules and all that. So I can't speak on anybody's behalf except ours.
Yeah, I understand.
If you sent to us a corner like this person, right? If they did work on 2 walls to try to get a better shot and closer up and took it on an angle so it's just the 2 walls, we wouldn't care in the least that you. Now, if you show up and that 3rd wall's got jewelry or some other type of art on it, I got a problem, right? That's a problem. Because then it's like we're being deceptive. But other than that, or if you have a French wall and in the picture it didn't show a French wall, or if it doesn't have now you have a French wall, or your French wall's in the back instead of the front. In our case, don't care. We're only going to care about, is this person showing up with glass that's painted the way you said over here and fired, or is this person now showing up with photography? Because this could be photography if you didn't know that it was glass. You know, then we care. But other than that, my opinion, get a grip already. I mean, like, don't be so, the artists need to sell their work the way artists need to sell their work. As long as they're being honest and not deceptive and putting jewelry in their glass booth here because it's glass jewelry, that's a problem. But other than that, but I can't speak for anybody else, just for us, that we would never care if you had a two panel here.
Next.
Well, it's just crazy.
Sorry.
How people are obsessing about their booth image now, because as I think it was Allison said, you know, it used to be for scale and something else. You know, you barely looked at it.
Consistency of work.
Consistency, yeah.
I'm tormented over the booth shot, and one of the things is my banners are designed with my display as kind of a whole package, but I have to take out all of my, I have a whole artist statement on one of my banners. And one of the reasons is, you know, some shows require them, but it also keeps people in my booth. So I delete all that. There's a picture of me, I delete that. My name is splattered all over the place, which, you know, it's not unusual in a booth where you're selling your work for your name to be there. So I have to delete all that. And I wish that there was a line somewhere and you could say, or I kind of wish we were required to say what is photoshopped, or, you know, what's just taken out for the, you know, just, I know that jurors don't have time to look at that, but in case there was a question, because when I Photoshop everything out, it looks just so much more plain, because I don't have a lot of other decor in my booth. It is this huge banner and then a scroll with an image and text on it. So, you know, you can't just presume people are going to know you've Photoshopped everything out.
Well, put a note in your artist statement in as few words as you can.
Well,
it's 97, 100, what is 100 spaces?
Characters. Yeah.
Characters.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Larry, I have to make one more comment on this.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, the piece with the red, I would not use as a jury image.
And that's what came out of the first mock jury, the mock jury also.
Okay,
can you explain why?
Because it's the weakest piece.
So it has nothing to do with the color then?
You don't see red in the booth either.
Exactly.
So it's kind of just random. If there was red and maybe another piece or some in the booth, then it makes sense. But also, yeah, and all you're kind of looking at is, and I think during the thing, the lady said, you know, it's actually good to have red because your eye, you know, stays on that and you want your jurors to stay longer. But in this case, it's the red, you're looking at it longer because you're kind of confused about, you know, where the other red is, how it relates.
So you're saying it's not cohesive with the other images.
Right.
Correct.
And it's
If
not
there was
cohesive with the booth.
An image in the booth with red in it, it would work better.
Yes. I'm a huge proponent of using a piece with a small bit of red in it in the jury images, but then again, it has to be in your booth to draw your eye, the juror's eye, and keep them there. This is overkill.
I don't dislike this picture personally.
All right.
This one gives me a creepy vibe, whereas the others give me warm fuzzies.
Okay.
But that's personal. That's not my jury.
All right, here we go. Never mind this one.
Yeah.
Never mind that
Wait.
Wait. Hold on.
Why?
Well, because one of them was put there. Carla put her old images there. There's nothing to critique.
Okay.
And I put the leather in there.
Can we just see for a second, please? Okay, I remember the leather guy posting.
He wasn't happy.
No, he wasn't.
But it's not that he wasn't happy with this. These are the pictures I had of his.
That were old.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the booth was wonderful.
Yeah. And can you go back for a second to the other one? Is that okay?
That's all Carla's old work and her old booth.
Right. Okay. And those images that have like a spotlight, that wouldn't be something done today, right?
I don't know. It's not.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
It's distracting.
I mean, Carla made her own backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, mixed media artwork created by experimenting with additive mixed with alcohol inks. Oil paint and crushed crystal glass on waterproof pH neutral paper mounted to wood cradle boards as well as aluminum substrates that form long, thin pops of color that can be hung singularly or grouped as an installation. That's all one sentence. All right.
I like the booth better than the individual pictures.
The booth looks gorgeous.
Yep, love the booth.
Yeah. I like the colors in the work. I would have liked to have seen one image that either had 3 or 5 thin pieces that went together.
Yep.
Well, here's a question. If there's one image with multiples, would it be better to have at least 2 to balance it out rather than just,
no,
you know?
It's visual overload for the jurors.
Okay.
I would disagree just because of the number of the thin strips that are in the booth.
I mean, it just gives you a chance to see them closer up.
But this also varies from the jury, right? Because this jury, if this were a show, wants 4 images of the work in one of the booth. Many shows want 3 images in one of the booth. So if it was 3 images, then you would be balanced up with one that's all the, 5 of the skinnies. That kind of depends on what show you're submitted to, whether it's 3 or 5, or a Bruce slide or not. I mean, it depends on where you're applying, what the requirement is.
I think with the technique is pretty similar throughout all of the pieces. So having those, several bars going, black bars going through one of the images, essentially all you're doing by adding the, those lines. So I feel like as long as you get kind of a variety of colors, I mean, the technique seems, it almost feels like something would be wrong with the image to just have a bunch of black lines through it, because I don't think it could be shown very well, unless it is a 3, there's 3 images and that one's in the middle.
Yeah. And you can clearly see in the booth that this person prints this work in different configurations. So like if I was jurying it, I mean, I got it. I got what this person's doing.
It's interesting. The pieces, like the first one is the one in that main panel. And I like it better in the booth than I do as a standalone picture.
That's because the standalone is cropped.
Mm. It could be.
It is.
But I'm not denying that it's cropped, Larry. I'm just saying I'm not sure that's why, for me.
Oh, okay.
But does it make sense then? So they're all squares. Maybe this has been discussed in the past, but maybe all those are zoomed in and cropped to be 4 squares, which for me visually looks way better than having, kind of a horizontal piece, or, just having different sizes. Is it acceptable to, have 4 squares because it seems more cohesive, even if it's not necessarily a square?
I would say yes.
Yep,
well,
in my opinion,
the one on the left is definitely cropped.
But it's not going to change the score, I don't think, right? In my opinion, we encourage artists to crop if it doesn't alter the artwork, the intent of the artwork, because that way we get 4 squares and we can see it and it doesn't hurt your eyes because of the horizontal and the vertical and the different shape and everything. And it's clear in the booth what's going on. So,
I have a question for Sharon. I sometimes think about doing a close-up to see the texture, see the color change that you don't necessarily see with all the pieces. But I'm always afraid that it'll ruin my jury score if I have 3 pieces of, let's say, work and then 1 piece of a close-up. Good or bad?
In our case, right, qualifying, in our case, that would not lower your score. We have other people who, particularly folks who do collage work, where it's hard to tell the collage from a painting. I mean, because you're back too far, or use beads or something on top of their painting, that kind of detail. We encourage them to show us the big picture, right? And then give us one that is now that detail that shows off that technique of putting beads on your paint or, you know, whatever you're doing.
You said it wouldn't hurt, but could it enhance?
That's hard for me to say. Maybe.
I know, I just think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would hurt though.
Okay.
Yeah, title it detail of
detail.
and a different piece than what's in your other pictures.
I love getting a detail shot.
Along the same lines, what if there was an image of a piece of jewelry with an inset in the same image of the clasp? Like, I feel like that's risky.
Yeah, we do that. I mean, we have I forget what her name is. She's a local artist here. She started with us when she was 17. Sometimes she comes, sometimes she doesn't. She's someone who does a lot of painting that has a tremendous amount of beadwork and small beadwork on it. And she had a hard time conveying that because it's so tiny you can't see it. So her images, she has the big one of the whole piece, and then in the corner, like you said, Allison, it has a corner of it shows a real zoomed in. It'd be kind of like this left one here. It's like zoomed in. If that were the corner little piece, even zoomed in more, and then the actual image was right behind it. Doesn't hurt her score in the least. People understand what she's doing, because all those folks that have collagey kind of stuff, some kinds of jewelry that's so much detail. Detail stuff is tough to see. It's tough to shoot that. So well, you know, it's great.
Yeah. So Larry, what do you think about that, Larry?
Well, I think the detail should be the full image with an inset of the full piece. Otherwise, they're not going to see the detail.
Right. Either way.
And I've done that for people.
Feels risky.
Well,
ask the director. Oscar say doesn't talk to the director. My encouragement is talk to them. Most of us would love to talk to you and provide for our show, right, what guidance you might need, because we can't speak for Cherry Creek or anybody else, right, or Howard Allen or whoever. We can't speak to that. But if you have a question about, do you think I should put this inset in and I made my image look like this, what do you think?
Right.
We'll tell you what we think about that. We will never comment about your artwork itself. That's not our, but we will comment about your booth shot, or that you did an inset, or you need to zoom back, or whatever, to make sure that your images are going to run well with us. And then after that, you know, up to the jurors what they score.
All right.
Good advice.
Next.
We're not mean, really.
I know.
I know.
Most of us.
Okay, I create abstract patinas directly on copper using a propane torch and unique blend of chemicals. Once the desired patina is achieved, I burnish the edges of the copper and lacquer the piece to provide additional shine and maintain the finish.
Well, here's a person who knows enough to put the biggest piece on the back wall.
Two biggest.
Second biggest.
No, it's a nice booth.
It's a very nice booth. Yeah, and this one's a good example how they, on the right, they have a lot of this smaller work and they got it grouped, like back to that one several slides ago. Got it grouped so that it doesn't look random to me. It's like, this is my small size, all grouped. People can come pick from that sizing. Makes sense.
Yeah. And you can then buy multiples. It reminds people that they can get multiples. And look how good they look together.
Right.
Yeah. I always suggest people to artists that hang work together that could sell together.
Absolutely.
All right. One-of-a-kind hand-fabricated jewelry using traditional methods, hand sawing and piercing, hand hammering and texturing, bezel and prong settings, hand forming and finishing in my studio.
So Bonnie, how old is this person is?
Which person?
The artist.
Not 60.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
30 to 40.
She's 73.
No
73?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So much for Bonnie's theory.
No way.
So I don't see any prongs. I think that this person could have just said, you know, hand setting or something like that, because they may have prongs in other jewelry, but if you're going to specifically say it, I feel like it should be in the jewelry images.
Larry, are you kidding? Because number one, she's a beginner. Is she really? This is going to bug me.
Yeah, she's a friend of mine.
No,
And
it's really good.
I photograph her jewelry and her booth.
Holy crap. Well, so much for my... Yeah, this is going to bug me.
Bonnie, I had a professor once who said if it's true 75% of the time, consider it true.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Bonnie, what's bugging you? You don't know who it is?
No, I have always said that if I'm jurying, I can pretty much tell you how old the person I'm jurying is by what their booth looks like.
Got it.
And I got it right earlier today.
It shouldn't affect your score, right? So
no, it doesn't.
You kick out all the old people.
It's just something that I have found very interesting over the years. And I never know if I'm right because I don't know who these people are.
Right. Okay, so in the booth image, I don't know if this bothers anyone else. I don't know that I personally care, but in the middle, on the middle pedestal, there's an earring rack, which is blocking the picture in the back. So maybe for the booth shot, that should be on the side.
Doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Or not there at all.
Yeah.
It'd be nice and clean that way.
I think for selling purposes, it should be on the side also. Not in the middle.
Selling. Yeah, nice, clean.
Yeah, nice.
But
nice,
but do you think that with those images, the last image of jewelry is different than the others? Does that matter? I mean,
we have that little inset.
Pardon?
There's the little inset in the middle, which resembles the bigger pieces.
I don't think it's that different.
Yeah.
Really? I think it's completely different, but I mean, the other ones just follow the contours of the stones, where this is a different design.
But I think in my opinion, we need to be careful, the festival directors, about boxing in artists so tight that there's no creativity, right? It could be that this person has done this design that's on the left, 3, and now they're experimenting with this design that's the right. I don't know if that's the case, but that could be the case.
Right.
So,
and what about this? How about the store-bought or the jewelry supply bought bezel wire on the very left? Does that bother anyone? I'm just more curious because you could make that.
You know, it doesn't bother me if every single one had it. I don't know. I hate the stuff personally.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me.
Because that's the question. How much should a jeweler be required to make? I mean, lots of jewelers add chains to pieces, and that's acceptable, and other findings like that. So, you know, I mean, the rest of this looks handmade.
I guess I don't want to nitpick every little thing.
Yeah. 8 seconds is up, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, how much can you critique in a jury that you only see the images for under 20 seconds?
Well, then if we're supposed to be jurying for cohesion, then I would say that last image is not cohesive with the others. You know, I understand, you know, we all change and evolve over time. So I'm just curious, because I mean, jewelry is such a competitive category, and you know, so
well,
you know, that's why I bring that up.
She's not applying to Cherry Creek, and also it's the last picture is the weakest.
Yeah, it seems weaker than the other ones. So if you wanted to balance it out, I would maybe put it third, and then it would not feel like you're just kind of trailing off. And if it's third, then it feels more cohesive just because it's grouped in, versus here's 3 and then here's one more that I just kind of don't really like, but I want to put in there to show that I can do a little different.
But it's still not like the others, and I don't see any earrings, rings, bracelets, anything else. I just see necklaces, and then there's that last one, even if it was in the middle, just is not cohesive with the others.
And we know she does earrings because of her earring stand.
Well, and you can see on the back wall in her booth, there is in the middle, that middle picture is earrings.
Yes, you're right. And then there's necklaces on those necklace stands that are on top of the cases also. Well, obviously she's showing necklaces, but does she make any, is it just earrings and necklaces then? It's hard to tell in the cases, but so that to me, I would say that you know, that this person needs to show another type of jewelry in here.
You know, but she doesn't apply to top shows.
Well,
no, but if the rules of the jury or of the application is that the jury slides are supposed to represent the body of work you're showing in your booth, I think they need to show rings, they need to show earrings, anything else that they do. Otherwise, anybody can take that and adapt it to just, I'm going to show my strongest work, I'm not going to show the body of my work. And that's not what the rule, if the rules say the body of the work, got to show the body of the work, don't you?
Yes.
Well, that's true. I think Larry's part of Larry's point is it also depends on where you're applying. And I think that's what I heard when I watched that mock jury last week or whenever that was, that a lot of those comments were made as if everybody there applied to Cherry Creek, right? And they don't. There's artists applying to all kinds of shows. And so it could be that the rules and what have you for this show that this person's applying to don't say you have to show every piece. I mean,
but if I'm this person, I'd want to know that it might be nice to have some other types of jewelry in here. I mean, when I was first starting out, you know, nobody told me that your background had to be plain, and I thought it was cool to photograph my work on rusted steel. So, you know, it's I don't know, that might be a tidbit for this person, you know, because who knows, you know, as far as what people are applying to, you never know down the road, you know, how things evolve.
Right.
But does that also mean, Sharon, that it's on the onus then is on the shows to make sure that their prospectus clearly states what they're going to jury by, and that if this isn't an issue, then don't put in phrasings that say show the body of the work. Just say show 4 pieces of your work, period. Doesn't matter what they are. And then, because we don't have the insight from the outside here to know how the jury that is selected by the promoters, how they're going to jury, right? We just don't know that. So how do we know what to submit other than the prospectus?
Call us up and ask us. But
really,
seriously, I mean, call and ask.
Really?
Yeah, particularly jewelry, right? Jewelry is a bear of a category. I mean,
but photography too. Like I hate to say it, but there's a lot of photographers that show black and white only, and they shoot color. In fact, they shoot more color, but they'll submit black and white because they think it's jury friendly. That shouldn't happen.
You're absolutely right. And we have had conversations with artists who do exactly that. It comes in as black and white or sepia or something, right?
Right.
Shows up with color, predominantly color, one artist in particular. And I have myself gone and said, you do that one more time, you'll never be back in this show. I mean,
well, good.
And now he submits on the color and he still gets in because it's great work.
Yeah.
But don't lie to me.
Don't cheat the jury, right? And with ceramic artists, I was at a show once in St. Louis where at the artist dinner, the director was telling us how to cheat the St. Louis jury, and one of the ceramic artists said, well, we do both functional and non-functional work, and we always feel like we're supposed to show both, but we also feel sometimes the juries us down because of that. And this director guy goes, no, only show your functional work, and in your booth slide, you can put your non-functional work on the wall. And I just like, wow, that.
But Ron, that doesn't, like in Fort Worth, if you do that, anything that if you, like at the jury case, you don't have earrings in the slides that you submit, or ring in there, you show up with that, they make you take everything out.
But they're one of the, and you're right, but they're one of the only shows that I have ever heard of in the country, nationwide, that enforces their rules at the show.
There's a lot of them that do that.
St. Louis does also.
There's a lot of shows that do that. You'll be surprised.
The Guild Ann Arbor show.
We'll do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
And I think sometimes you don't know for sure, as the other artists, whether we're enforcing them. You don't necessarily know that.
That's true.
We may not make an artist take down their booth during the show.
But you'll never see them again.
You'll never see them again. I had a jewelry this past 121 that in her tent, there was, in her images, there was jewelry, let's say like these necklaces, nice like these necklaces. And then in her booth slide was a small panel on the back wall, which we missed, that was hair clip stuff, like you'd put up a ponytail with and put a pin through, hairpin kind of things. It was small on the back wall, and we missed that when we accepted her. You know, I walked by her booth on Sunday. I hadn't been in that area until Sunday, and there is thousands, hundreds, whatever, of these hair clip things on the walls all over the place.
Wow.
And a couple of the nice jewelry. And I walked by and I'm like, I know we would not have accepted all this hairpiece work. There's no way that we would have done that. So I walked in and talked to her. I said, what's up with this? Oh no, that's what I juried on. And so I pulled up the image and I said, well, that's true. It's on that back wall, but all the rest of this is nice jewelry. So what's up? It was Sunday. I didn't make her take it down, but I did tell her that she would never see us again. So,
good for you.
So you might not know that, right? Because unless you were standing there, you didn't hear that. John Costin, who's a fabulous printmaker, he was standing the next booth over. He did hear that, but if you weren't nearby, you wouldn't have known that we enforced that. So
love it.
You don't always know.
I had an experience about 10 years ago, at least 10 years ago. I went to Florida with my raku, but I also brought functional pots, and it actually confused people coming into the booth, and nobody wanted to look at the functional stuff. Nobody wanted to buy it. It was weird, and so that was my one time that I did that. It's better to have a consistent booth of whatever you're doing, as opposed to being all over the place or having two different things.
I have a question about that. So I was the slide previous, or the copper work, and I didn't speak up because I was trying to, hear criticism or whatever. But so typically I'll do at shows, and this is my first time. I've always I do bronze vessels, sculptural vessels that I cast, and do the same patina on those, and have been getting into, pretty decent shows for years. And then I started to evolve and do some, you know, copper wall pieces. So it's the same process. And at shows, I, you know, have gotten juried in based on my, you know, bronze work, but then I also put some of the copper pieces up as well, and have never been, you know, nobody's ever spoken to me about that. But it's increased my sales immensely, and so I typically submit as metal work, and, you know, so I don't know how to go about, you know, if I'm doing things right or need to submit 2 different things. And, you know, I'd miss out on a lot of sales if I was just 2D. To do one.
You have 2D and 3D is what you're saying?
Correct.
Same
Yeah.
technique,
So this is
my 2D and 3D.
Same technique. I mean, the 3D pieces are cast, and then, you know, so they're a lost wax process. And they relate really, really well. So it's not like I'm just trying to, you know, here's some totally different thing. They're all, you know, not non-functional, you know, but more sculptural bowls and vessels.
But another option, although I know it's not one that a lot of artists want to absorb, is you could do 2 bodies of work and submit them both. And if you get accepted with both, then showing them both in the same booth would be fine, because you juried with both of them, right?
That depends on the show.
And ask, as
you,
Sharon says, ask the director. I mean, there's offhand, I could think of somebody who uses a recycled, it's a metal strapping that's in different colors, and they have wall pieces, and then they make these woven baskets out of it too. It's both 2D and 3D. And I don't know what they apply in, if they have to apply in 2 categories or more, or 1, but it seems like that would be a show director question.
So you're saying that if they juried with 2 bodies of work and they got juried in with both of them, they couldn't possibly show them both in the same booth? They'd have to show 2 separate booths.
No, they could show them in the same booth.
Well,
I'm just saying there's one artist I could think of that's both 2D and 3D, just offhand.
Yeah, Jim.
But this is my first.
That's not
what I'm saying is it would depend on the show. In our case, if you juried on 3D metal, whatever vessel thing, and you juried on 2D flat work like this, and you were accepted in both, we might have a conversation about letting you use 1 booth. Probably not. You would probably have to do 2 booths. You would have to pick one or the other, or do 2 booths.
Okay, I have a suggestion. Put a couple of pedestals in your booth with the 3D work.
Yes.
And rearrange some of the pieces on the walls so they're not blocked by the pedestals.
I guess that's my issue, is then I feel like, you know, talking about cohesiveness, and, you know, I worry that it would confuse the jury, and they would say, why is there 3D work and 2? But if I was to show you, you know, my work at a show, and it's hard because I've had people say, you know, jurors who, you know, are to say, oh man, like, I see your work at a show, I'll definitely, you know, see, like, your work is great at a show. But I feel like the jurors are so set on, or the, you know, directors are so set on, it has to be, I mean, I understand weeding out the people who are just throwing random stuff together, but it's, you know, it's kind of tricky
it sounds very cohesive what you do. I mean, it doesn't sound like, I mean, you're still using the same materials for both. There's a ceramic artist who's also a painter, and I don't know her name offhand. And I see her at shows. Her ceramics and her paintings do kind of read. I mean, I'm sure she probably has to apply in 2 categories, but she wins awards and everything. And but it sounds like, I mean, you're using the same materials, so it seems like it all would be cohesive.
But if you're but going back to the example of the ceramic artist, if you do both functional and non-functional, are you saying that you could just show functional, and then on your booth slide, throw in some non-functional work, and that's okay. You don't have to show the non-functional as part of your jury slides. Because to me,
Well,
and all, the same thing with color and black and white. Well, maybe you should show a couple black and white ones in your booth, but jury, or a couple color ones, but jury with black and white. If the 4 slides that you submit are supposed to represent the body of the work that will be exhibited, why isn't it that you show both 2D and 3D, or black and white?
I think he can show both. Although if I were him, I'd talk to a show director. But what I'm saying is, I think he can show both, or apply in 2 categories, 2D and 3D. But what I'm saying is, like in the booth, visually and everything, if he applied in one category of just, you know, metal, then it seems like you could show 2 and 3D in those images.
Right.
And I think in this booth slide, and I have to go because I have another phone call I have to go make, but in this particular booth slide, my thought is if you take out the back wall right-hand panel, and take the 2D off of that and put whatever pedestal, some arrangement that shows the 3D right there, I think that'll still be a really cohesive booth slide. And then change the description a little bit to recognize that this abstract patinas, whatever, on either 2-dimensional panels, whatever this says, and 3-dimensional things. And then ask the director, because they might not like that. We would like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I've just never, I mean, and I've always submitted with the bronze just because I've been doing it longer. And this is my first, like, I've never submitted with this copper work, but for about 8 years, I've been putting both in my booth, and never had an issue with, you know, a director or anybody saying anything. And, you know, I'd be happy to take them down if that was the case. But then again, I feel like if you know, doing super competitive shows, that maybe just submitting in, you know, the 3-dimensional, you know, metal, like bronze as metalwork, and then, you know, maybe talking to the director versus, you know, if it's I don't know, it's hard because my booth looks really so much better with both things in it.
Yeah. Okay. As a show director, here's my take on it. I would put something 3-dimensional into your booth, as Sharon said, but I would also add it to your images.
Okay.
You have to have it both places and apply like that.
Okay.
Check with the show director also, as Sharon has said, but because they may be okay with it that way, they may want you to do it in 2 separate applications. I don't know. It depends on the show.
Right.
But just be totally upfront. They will so appreciate that. That's all.
Well, thanks. Fun talking to everybody. I got to go call a sponsor. So have a great day.
Okay, we got 2 more.
Bye, Sharon.
Bye-bye, Bonnie.
Okay, one of a kind and limited edition forged and fabricated sterling silver jewelry using traditional methods such as piercing, soldering, etching, and stone setting, nature inspired.
So can I ask you what was wrong with this one? Because to me it looks fine.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, what's the age of the artist?
I am no longer going to say anything to this.
82.
No, this one's younger.
I'm about to say 55.
No, younger.
Younger?
Yeah.
Damn.
Who cares?
Good answer.
I'm with Barry. Yeah. Who cares?
Well, yeah, you know, actually, when you look closer at it, it looks like a younger person, like maybe early 20s.
Because of the design?
The design of the pieces.
Yeah.
Wait, can we see that booth closer? See, it is. It's so hard. It's so hard to tell what's in the booth. I mean, you know, given what's happened with a certain person getting into a lot of shows, but it really, it's almost kind of impossible to compare the pieces hanging in the booth with the jury images. I mean, you could look at the pictures on the background, but would we know if they're photoshopped on or not?
They kind of look photoshopped on.
Because there's no hangers on them.
The hangers could be on the back, hidden, couldn't they?
Yeah. There'd be something hanging down though.
No, you can.
No, because
you
they're
can
on
put the
They're
rings
in
there.
mesh walls.
mesh walls.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Mesh walls.
You can have a wire in the back and then just do S-hooks and you won't see it.
Okay.
But
looks like a lot of necklaces, some earrings,
some bracelets.
See, to me, this is where, like what Oscar had brought up about Fort Worth, to me, this is part of the responsibility of promoters, is to go around and see what people actually set up in their booth relative to what they juried with. And if they find discrepancies, they not only just tell them, don't do this again, but maybe even if it's really bad, close them down. Say you didn't represent.
Really,
honestly.
yeah, really bad is stealing somebody else's jury images and booth image.
Yeah,
I mean that's really bad. I'm not this person. That's not what I mean at all.
No.
What I didn't understand is why they didn't think they would get caught doing it. I mean,
yeah, because they didn't get caught for a long time.
Hey,
most shows
it didn't stop them from getting into shows.
Right. And the other thing is their jury images, their jewelry wasn't that fabulous that they got into every single show. So that's a weird thing too.
Yeah. But once you discover them and you close them down, then all those expenses they've gone through to cheat the system, all of a sudden, those are not reimbursable. And I applaud shows that do like what Main Street Fort Worth does, is just go around, check if they're not being, and like Sharon was saying, just say, you're not going to be in the show ever again because you're cheating.
Right.
And there's lots of artists that'll take your place, who would love to take your place.
Yep.
Tell them adios, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, last one. Begin by blending various colorants and powdered metal into clear resin. I apply each color individually and then begin to blend colors. I repeat this process several times before my final chemical process. The chemicals pull the metal back to the surface and separates it into thin veins. It also pulls some of the color out, showing earlier layers, creating a three-dimensional effect.
Well, other than the images seem kind of soft and probably taken with a cell phone, especially the boost slide, which I think is a drawback. The work's kind of impressive, but it's soft looking at it, right?
Right. Are there sculptures in the booth? Are there sculptures or rocks?
Good question.
They would have to be sculptures, I would think.
The work is soft. It's because of the layers.
Could you go back to the boost slide?
Yeah, you can see it. And his work is very large.
But if he's doing sculptural pieces, then like we were talking about before, should he not?
There should be.
Those,
go ahead.
He's taking those out.
Are those sculptures or rocks though?
They look like they're on pedestals. They look like they're sculptures.
It's sculpture that he created, but it doesn't go with the rest of the booth.
Exactly.
Really? I think it all looks really nice in there.
Yeah.
But you're mixing two-dimensional and three-dimensional.
It throws up questions.
Yeah.
See, that was my issue earlier. Is I mean, this fills up the booth and looks nice and looks like more of a showroom, like a gallery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gallery that has more than one, artist work. Or I mean, I guess that's kind of hard too. Is it looks like a nice showroom. you go into this looks like a nice showroom. All the spaces are filled in, the floor, so your eyes goes throughout the booth. And so that's kind of, I know it might be confusing to jurors as they say, oh, are those just, you know, rocks that are this person's inspiration? You know, is this person trying to mimic, you know, the lines and veins in these, you know, geodes and rocks? Or did they create that, you know?
Right.
And
honestly,
creating it, just making one of the 4 pictures, one of the 3D ones would be fine, I would think.
Well, he also, that he made that table, and it's the same, the surface of the table is the same as his other work, but you don't see it in the picture.
No, and you also don't technically see the booth. You look like it's set up indoors on a flooring. So is there a booth there actually, or not? Because if we're talking about showing 3 walls of a booth, this one doesn't cut it, does it?
Yes, it does. It's just a double-sized booth.
With no structure on top?
Indoor.
It looks like it's indoor, and then they just put, you know, Photoshop some white to probably blur out the lighting
Probably
of the convention center.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, because I don't think the tops of the panels are curved like on the right-hand side, and I don't think there's gaps. It looks Photoshopped, so it's not a tent. So,
well, you don't have to have a tent, regardless of what.
But earlier we were talking about if you have a tent, it doesn't show 3 walls. That's a problem, right?
That's some people's opinion.
Wow.
Do what I say, not what I do.
That's why it's important to read the prospectus. Some will say we want to see 3 sides. I mean, my jury booth is a corner booth. I don't show 3 sides. I've been doing that for at least a decade. I'm a jeweler. I'm not hiding anything. You see all the cases because it's on a curve, but you know, they do want to see some of the tent. I think a lot of them do say that. So it's, again, you have to read the prospectus. I mean, a lot of shows say, you know, each image of your jury image should represent, 25% of what you're showing or something like that.
Hey, I used to my booth image for a very long time in the beginning was shot at the American Craft Council, maybe Baltimore show. And it was, so I had carpeting, track lights, everything kind of went together, and I shot it at an angle. And I used that forever because I thought, well, that was the best way to look at to show the work. And then one time I got a call when Cindy Lyric was running St. Louis. She called and said I couldn't do that. That wasn't good. And I didn't even realize, I didn't even know that was, that wasn't a good thing.
Well, they got rid of her. No.
Well, no, she left.
Yeah.
But that's because shows really don't give us, the list of what they want in a booth shot. And I mean, there's guidelines on Zap and all that, but it's a very ambiguous situation, the booth shot.
And it would be nice. It would be nice as every Zap jury, or if you're doing it on a computer anyway, has the ability to write in a comment, is to have jurors write in comments about, well, I didn't like your booth slide for this reason, so that we can learn from it, at least what some jurors think about our booth slide. And then
why that doesn't necessarily matters, because every show is different. Every jury with every show is different. So some juries are going to like it, some juries aren't. Some jurors are going to like something, some jurors aren't, and it changes from year to year. So my thing is just shoot your best image and shoot your best images, and whatever they come up with, that's it. But trying to figure it out, I don't think it can. It's always different.
I once asked a show, like, as far as getting feedback, you could email the show and say, why didn't I get in or whatever. And some say, oh, we don't do that. Others do. And I did that once with La Quinta, and they said I had too many images in my booth.
Really?
But now my booth looks too bare. So.
But at least
that's funny about La Quinta.
If you're going to apply to La Quinta, now at least the next year you apply, maybe I shouldn't have quite so many images and improve your chance of getting back into looking.
But right? It's so funny.
But you can't win. You can't win. It's like your work is too colorful. Your work's not colorful enough. I mean, these are
ignore it. But see, if those comments, if a show promoter looked at those comments, do you think that most show promoters wouldn't care, or that a lot of show promoters would go, God, our jurors are all over the place on this. We've got to get different jurors, or we've got to instruct our jurors
they get
better.
Different jurors every year anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But they don't. Do most show promoters have a clue why jurors jury the way they do?
Hey, has anybody here done La Quinta?
Yeah.
Because it's really weird. They give you a booth, but there's nothing near you. You can make it 3 booths. You can make it 30 feet if you want, and you can show outside your booth. It doesn't matter to them. So although it can be really, really, really windy, when they come around with tent stakes, we're talking about tent stakes that weigh a lot they weigh a lot, because when that wind comes over the mountain, you need that. But it's so funny. I mean, you can spread out there. It's kind of interesting.
I feel like, part of that too. Some of the reason I feel, just my thinking about why they want to see your tent in the booth shot is so they know that you have a tent, that you own one,
and it's white.
Unless you just set up pedestals. But also, speaking of winter, say some shows, don't accept, easy ups. So they can look and say, oh, that person has an easy up, or, oh, wow, they got a trim line or something that.
Well, they write
kind
that
of
in
maybe.
There. That's in the prospectus. Yeah. Look, that's funny.
Gotcha.
I don't ever apply. I would never consider applying to a show that wants to see your booth shot to know you have a tent. Everybody has like those are like amateur low end shows. I would never want to do anything like that. Oh, do they have tents? Of course.
Well, that's good to know. That's why I was thinking. They want to see how much work you have. They want to make sure you have enough work for the show. So I think it's just kind of seeing, that you're professional.
Yeah, but if you've never done a show before, you're still allowed to apply. And some shows, they'll say, just set something up at home and photograph it. Because like, I remember I was during a show once and the work was phenomenal. The booth was horrible. And so he was let in and we just told him, he's got to get rid of the rug and a few things like that. And so not all shows are flexible like that, but there are people who are, doing their first show. And I always hope there's that flexibility. I mean, there are people who have been working for others for 15 years and they've got their chops. So they might not be amateur in their skills and their work, but they might be just with doing a show.
And they might be renting a tent. So they maybe don't have a tent.
Right. Yeah.
I just wish that they make the booth shot more across the board, kind of uniform rules for everybody, so you don't have to be worried about it.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Because it's really confusing at this point. Even though send the application, I know that people want to have the body work uniform, but I can tell you from my personal experience, you keep evolving and you want to change your body of work, and then you start adding up. You're not going to have 4 cohesive images like what you guys consider cohesive. So it could be just works together when you see it all together in the booth, but doesn't mean that the 4 images in the row is going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, but you have your eye. Like if you were to apply to a show with, say, portraits of people, and you showed your current booth shot, obviously it wouldn't work.
No, I know that, but that's an extreme.
Yeah. But I mean, I would hope that's what they're looking for, just as far as cohesiveness, that it looks like your work in the first place. Because, any of your work has kind of your eye to it. But anyway, I agree with you. It's this ambiguous kind of thing. And, the expectations are all over the board. And then with having to, in my booth as a jeweler, I have to Photoshop out all these things. As a photographer, your work is your booth.
So we Photoshop in everything.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But it does, and it goes to how much weight does a jury slide have with most juries? If
it's just that the top, what I call the top 10 shows, the boost shot costs 50% of your scoring.
You're kidding me? Whoa.
No way. Not true.
It's true.
You're telling no chance. You're telling there's no way you can convince me that Cherry Creek is 50% of the thing. Not even close. I'd say not even 5%.
I can tell you that some shows is 25 to 50%.
No, I don't believe that.
I don't
what
either.
I've been told over and over and over.
25.
Where did you hear that? Did some director tell you that? Did the director of Cherry
Are you telling you what?
Did the director at Cherry Creek tell you that?
The director never going to tell you that. It's just the people that you're those shows. I'm telling you that the boost shot has a lot of weight, more than you think, because the people that select most of the time, the boost shot is the tiebreaker.
Well, and see if it also goes to if the promoter doesn't tell the jurors how much you can jury the boost slide for, how many points. If that's left totally up to the jurors, Oscar may be correct. If jurors go like, well, the work's okay, but the boost slide sucks, I'm going to jury him way down. That should be a directive that comes from the promoter that says this is all that you can weight the boost slide.
Okay. So just think about this for a second.
Fort Worth tells the jurors not to include the booth picture in their score.
Oh, that's good. Now what about the cost of the artwork?
That's another thing that shouldn't be
irrelevant.
It should be irrelevant, but I could tell you with jewelry and clothing, textiles, wearables, that jurors, jury, I wouldn't wear that, which it shouldn't be. You should be able to judge something by the skill and the quality and all of that without making it personal. And so any good juror should be able to jury work that they might not want to hang it in their home, but they can appreciate how good it is. And unfortunately, it's not the case. And with jewelry, price and wearability and I mean, when I pick my jury images, I actually do a range of prices, and I know St. Louis always wanted that, or not always, but I remember maybe, I don't know, maybe by 2008 or something, they wanted you to jury your images showing different price points because people were showing up. They were showing their best images and showing up with really low end work.
But the thing that I was telling you about the booth is because that's what everybody's focusing lately a lot into the booth shot. Why the booth shot to be so perfect, and that's what is coming. That what I keep saying to you guys. So it's not like because if not, you have a booth shot that's present your work that you're professional. You shouldn't be tough to worry about that.
Right.
But it is a dilemma that we're talking about, because if the booth slide is not good or doesn't represent the work well, is there no penalty if you're not scoring the booth slide at all?
Okay, the very least, the booth shot can hurt you. The best thing is to be kind of vanilla, just have a decent booth shot without any problems.
But if it's not being scored, how does it hurt you, Barry? If you're not, like Larry, when Larry was saying it's not being scored.
I can speak to that. Let's just say, okay, you're during a show, you have 700 applicants and you can only take in 200, right? And so you skim people off the top, but then it's down to, let's say 2 painters, in the painting category. And let's say they both do scenic imagery. Okay. So the imagery is the same and all of that, and they're both really good. That's where the booth shot can make or break. Right. It's like, well, this booth shot is nicer.
That's right.
See, in all the shows that I've ever juried, which has been a fair number, I don't get on that second. There's not a second round. It's like you jury one time through. Every juror juries through one time through. And then if there's any decision like that that's made, it's made by the staff. It's not made by the jurors.
Wow.
Yeah. I like St. Louis. I like the way St. Louis does it.
Annette, I put something in the chat for you.
Barry, can you speak to that? How St. Louis?
Yeah. With St. Louis, there's 5 rounds. And so you go through the first round and they might have 5 jurors. The only people that get eliminated in each round are when you have 5 no's. So if you have one person that likes your work in the beginning or like says a yes, then you go on. And actually, if it turns out at the end, so at the end, they've eliminated all the no's, and then there's the people that are left. So then you have the people that are in the show, and then the rest of the people are going to be on the wait list. And they might go through and have discussions about that. I'm not quite sure how it's done at the end, but here's the thing that I like about it, that you could have one person that really, really believes in you, really, really likes your work, and that will get you into the show, as opposed to somebody who goes like 3 yeses and 2 maybes, but they're not, there's no conviction there. And I like that because, there's always gonna be somebody that doesn't like your work, and there could be somebody that really likes your work, and I just like that chance.
Well, Bonnie, how do you guys jury?
Well, my show, you can't really count it like that.
Yeah.
We are a very loose jury.
Do you jury the booth slide, or do you just jury the jury slides?
Just the jury slides.
Okay.
We don't even ask for a booth shot because we don't care what your booth looks like.
Yeah.
So Bonnie, I'm guessing, go ahead, sorry.
You're not going to put up your regular show booth, and we don't want you to. We want you to make it quick and easy, whatever works for you.
I'm guessing you just want to weed people out who, are buying things to sell at your show.
Yeah, sell, and things that don't fit with the whole spirit of the show. And yeah.
The spirit of the show is great. Everybody kind of knows everybody, and we're all in it together, and it's just fun. That's
the whole idea.
So Barry, you saying right now you're going to be on a show next year, right?
What I will say is that I really have a dilemma because Bonnie won't change the date of the show. So no. For me, it'd be like after. So I have to make this choice after Coconut Grove, if I should get in there, or Art de Gras or whatever, to come all the way back up north and do the show. And let me tell you something. If you're in Florida for a month and you come up there, it seems way colder than normal. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. So part of me wants to turn around and go back, but I don't want to necessarily do that drive. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I've been thinking like today, I was thinking maybe I would just go back down to Florida. I would bite the bullet and drive another back 1,200 miles after driving up. But that isn't etched in stone. And if I don't come to Bonnie's show, I'm going to feel really guilty.
You should.
So Larry, when you've said that they not during the scoring the booth slide,
yeah,
on all the juries that you've been on, if the jurors, you've never been on a jury?
No, I have too much invested in the artist. It wouldn't be fair.
Oh, okay. But then if the booth slide isn't juried, if a juror didn't like the booth slide, what does that mean? I kind of, when Bonnie says they don't require one, or if you do a show that wants you to submit just 5 or 6 images of your work,
I'll tell you what I heard from a juror, that after they finished looking at the images and they actually scored somebody lower because of the booth picture, even though they were told not to because the booth looked so bad.
So if the booth looks that bad, would that affect their getting into the show?
Well, it did.
Yes.
But if they know the score. But if you don't
psychological thing.
But if you don't jury the booth slide,
but they're still looking at it.
Yeah, it's psychological.
But if you're using it psychologically to not let them in the show, you're basically jurying you're giving a score to that boost slide.
Well,
that's right.
Yes.
But
Right.
if you're telling your jurors don't jury the boost slide, what's, you know, again, then that goes to, well, how much are you jurying it for? Because if you're not going to let them in the show because you don't like their boost slide, but you like their images, you're going the path that of that maybe 50% of the, maybe that jury thought 50% of the score was
Ron, no matter what, there are too many good artists for any particular show. So it's another way to weed them out. I've never heard of a show during just with one run through. I know St. Louis doesn't have categories except for 2D and 3D. Other shows, you know, do it by category. Some have quotas for the category, some don't. But it's more of, if you've made it through all the rounds and now they have to weed people out because they have too many people that they like in the show, it's a weeding out process.
Well, if the show is set up that way to do multiple rounds, but most shows that I know of and all the shows I've ever juried, they don't have multiple rounds. It's a one.
I've never heard of only one round before.
Yeah,
so we have different experiences. So
yeah, the first round is usually yes, no, or maybe, and the second round is yes and maybes.
Actually, it's more common to do it in one round than it is to have multiple. But it really depends on how many applications the show is getting. We're not talking shows that get 1,800 applications, although I don't know of any show that's getting those numbers these days, but they're going to do things much differently than a show that gets 800. You know, 800, you don't have to necessarily do 2 or 3 rounds. Now, I will tell you that as far as the booth image goes, you go through, it's always part of the equation. Whether they tell you to use it or don't use it, doesn't really matter. You see it. So it's always part of what your final score is going to be, the final score that you give them.
Yep, I agree.
Whether you mean to or not. And it's quite often the tipping point. You like their work, you don't like their work, but then you look at their booth image and you go, okay, that gives me a slightly different perspective on it. Okay, they're, you know, like maybe their images aren't great, but you look at their total body of work and you go, oh my gosh, this stuff is gorgeous. Just a slightly different perspective. But that's how I use the booth image.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Clearly a heated subject, the booth image.
Well, like Bonnie just said, if it makes the difference between you getting into a show or not getting into a show, yes, it is an issue. And it's only one of the 5 slides. Because if they like your body of work, but they look at the booth slide and they go like, I don't really like the way they set their booth slide up, and they jury you down accordingly, they did weight it, it was important to them, and there's no feedback to let you know, well, everything else you did was great, but your booth slide sucked. So we have no way to change the outcome. We don't know if it was a jury slides that they didn't like, maybe we need to change that. But if it was purely the booth slide, and it didn't get you into the show and they liked your your jury slides, it had a lot of weight to prevent you getting in the show. It's not like
you can always email a show and ask them why you didn't get in. They may or may not take the time, but that you do have that option.
But most of the time they don't know because they don't know how the jurors scored.
Exactly. Well, they know how they scored, but they don't know
how the why. Right, exactly. Which means they don't know why the jurors did or did not do that. And I, think back to the old days when Uptown used to send out the little pieces of paper from each of the jurors that had jurors score and comments on it. So at least you could see, well, they didn't like my selection of images. They didn't like mixing horizontals and verticals, whatever. And it just is kind of sad to me because promoters could learn so much about the jurors and how the jurors respond to work by seeing how the jurors scored, seeing comments, seeing scores for each individual image. It's not that big a deal. It really isn't.
But it's actually not the booth image that, if they don't like the booth image, it's that they don't like the booth.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, it's not just the image. It's your booth they don't like.
Yeah.
The way it's set up.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, the
Whatever.
booth, listen, the booth image could reveal, oh, how do they have so much stock? Are they really making it? So, you know, that could be one case, right? Oh, that might be manufactured. Or, you know, again, they juried with paintings of scenery, but in their booth, it's all paintings of rusted trucks.
Yeah, it's real interesting what you see in people's booth images that has nothing to do with their work images.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting.
But jewelry is difficult to tell because you don't have a close-up
Exactly.
of the booth. And, you know, personally, I have an issue with store-bought displays, but, you know, I don't know that that should be a reason to rule someone out.
It can't be.
I just put a link in the chat. I have a whole series of interviews with jurors on my website.
Thank you, sir.
But Oscar, I think your 25 to 50% as far as the booth image affecting your score, I don't think that's even close to being correct.
I hope I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Lawrence Park used to advertise 30% for the booth.
Wow.
Well, I just juried that show 2 years ago.
Which show was that?
Longs Park.
Yeah, when the Dicks ran the show.
Well, one Dick runs it now.
Yeah.
Well, one Rick.
One brick at a time.
There was that was not the case.
Right.
Is it a brick in the wall?
Over the years.
Well, yeah, and I'm only concerned with what's happening now.
I mean, if they're going to eliminate you because they don't like your booth, then your booth is really 100% of the score.
Exactly. Which means Oscar's estimate, a gross underestimate of how heavy we
Hey, I not to change the subject because I'm changing the subject, but here's a situation. Okay, you drive to a show, you get there, it's pouring rain, and the forecast for the whole weekend is rain. Do you set up or you turn around and go home?
You set up and suck
it up. It depends on how old you are.
I agree, Oscar. Just suck it up.
Yeah.
It depends on your age.
Well, given how wrong weather estimates are, I was just at a show this last weekend where it was not supposed to rain on Sunday, 0% chance, and we had scattered showers all Saturday when they were predicting none, and Sunday they were predicting 70% chance of rain, and it didn't rain a drop.
Okay, I get that. But Friday during setup, it's rain, it's pouring.
Oscar, you wait or come in late at night, whenever they'll let you in and set up. Yeah.
That's funny because I'm thinking of turning around and going home.
No, you drove that far, you just go set up and suck it up.
That's right.
That's why it depends on your age.
Where are you, Barry?
It also depends on what you're selling.
I mean, it reached the point where I didn't want to deal with that hassle anymore.
I don't want to. Yeah,
it's not what you
it could be an age thing. Yes, it could be an age thing. I don't want to put it. I put up with all that stuff. Hey, listen. Early on, I was at Lincoln Center in New York, and it was pouring, and I set up in the rain. I was totally soaked. It rained the whole weekend. Sales were minimal. All the veteran artists went back to their hotel rooms, went out to dinner, went to go see plays, went to museums. They went, nope, I'm not doing this. But I was one of the few that set up, and all I did was get wet. So I think of that.
Not the first time, not the last time, I bet.
I mean, Brookside, it was raining when we were setting up, and we were open that evening, and it was dry, but then there were storms threatening that evening so much that all the 2D artists pulled their vans up and loaded the work in their vans, because we didn't know if our booths would be standing the next day. But it turned out, you know, it was fine the rest of the time. And I mean, there were major storms that evening, but it didn't end up in disaster. So, you know, maybe it depends upon the show also. I mean, we're lucky.
Okay, I'm trying one more time. Barry, where are you?
Marquette, Michigan. Oh, which show?
Yeah.
Oh, Economawalk, Wisconsin. I've never been there. I don't know anything about it. I signed up for it just as on a whim, and I'm not that happy about the fact that you know, I'm still thinking of just not even going, which I've never done before. So
I always
expecting you over there.
I talked to Steve also. Steve encouraged me to come. So
good.
Steve, we work. Bonnie, I've never not shown up at a show. I've never not done a show. I've never not canceled. Well, actually, I did cancel one time.
Well, I think that you should do this one because, well, no, because then you can come back and give me a full report. I was always sorry that I was never able to. I finally started to take August off from shows. So I ended up never being able to do that one, but I'd heard such fun things about it. I hope you go, and I hope it's very successful.
Yeah. I heard just the opposite from somebody who won an award last year, but he decided to go back again this year, although he was thinking it's a small show. That's a good thing.
Yep.
But if it rains, you know, those people are wealthier. It's a more wealthy community, so they're not going to walk outside. They're not going to go out. So there's that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm driving to Lexington, Kentucky, and the weather is the same as yours. So if I'm driving to Lexington, Kentucky, you might as well drive over there.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Oscar, I wish you were coming to Economawalk to hang out with Steve and me, you know?
No, because I'm going to be in Lexington.
Just like Florida.
No, I'm going to be in Lexington, Kentucky.
Oscar?
Yes.
My friends John Hecker and Don Amen.
Yeah, I know. They're going to see them.
They're going to be there.
They will both be there.
Yeah,
in Lexington.
Yeah.
Yep, in Lexington.
I'm going to see them.
They're having a boys' weekend. So
a boys' weekend?
Yes.
To make up for the girls' weekend in Sutton's Bay?
I think so.
I usually go to Lexington just to drink whiskey.
Oh, well, Don's good.
Yeah. Look at horses.
Oh, geez. Well, I hope everybody has good shows this weekend. I
do need a good show after this last two. So.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Well, Bonnie, I did end up getting into Sun Valley off the wait list, but it was after I canceled my Airbnb. But it was okay. You know, I decided, I mean, I have these orders that take a really long time. And I thought, you know what, August, I'm just going to work on these because I have deposits. And it made more sense than to be away from the studio for, you know, a while. And it was weird to make that decision, but I think it's the right one in this case.
I always take August off.
The Sun Valley is in Iowa, right?
No, in Idaho.
Idaho, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, I think the decision was made, you know, you waited as long as you could for your Airbnb. So
well,
good.
I decided to cancel my Airbnbs for both Park City and Sun Valley. I thought, yeah, I mean, in thinking, well, when am I going to make these? These bracelets take like 4 months to make. So, anyway, so I decided in August also, I'm going to take one day off a week and go do something.
Yes.
Yesterday we went hiking. And so anyway, I think it was a good.
You're going to have a life one day a week?
One day a week.
It reminds me of something. I was so focused on what I was doing this week, making pieces, that I'm on the water on Lake Superior, and there were these two boats, old boats, schooners, whatever. Anyway, they brought a huge rubber ducky, blow up thing to go in the water, and actually it was on land. I didn't notice it at all. People were talking about it. I had no idea what they were talking about. And then afterwards, somebody said, yeah, it was right there. Like I drove by it a half dozen times and didn't see it. I was so focused on what I was doing. So Allison, I applaud you that you're actually going to take a day off and actually do something like that normal human beings do.
I saw a picture of that.
You did. Yeah, we did 2 hikes yesterday, actually. One was this incredible, it was a very steep descent and ascent. Yeah. And it was all like lava type rocks, but because it's been raining so much, and it was like down to the Rio Grande, because it was raining so much, there was this little stream going into the Rio Grande with these really, really bright red flowers. It was like an oasis. It was incredible. And then we also went to Sankawi, which is ancient cliff dwellings. And they had carved out all these paths on the rocks that you walk through. And they're from like the 1100s. And that was very cool. It's just like 20 minutes north of Santa Fe. It's near Bandelier.
Okay.
It's like part of Bandelier, but not in the park itself. And that's the thing. There's so much to do so close, and we just never take advantage of it. So I want to try to do that. And then this week is Indian Market, which I've never been. And it sounds very overwhelming, but I have a few specific places, like I can go to one of the hotels that has the show and then come back to work, and so it doesn't have to be an all day thing. And I think I'll stay away on the weekend though. It's the 100th year anniversary. And so, and I'm not in the market to buy anything. So I think I'll just check it out briefly.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Although I'd want to see all the good stuff, weeding my way through the other stuff to see the really good, pottery and jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Perry, the thing to your right, can you put it in front of your face?
This one?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Bless you, whoever sneezed.
That's funny.
Okay, just a little thing here. Some of these pieces, or half the pieces, I fired yesterday and today, and that's where I put them so that to box them up. See the weaving?
Oh, that's pretty.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I love that that firing.
It's rough or it's smooth?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, it's textured. Listen, I'm having a problem because I use copper carbonate, and it's always been the same for 35 years, sort of smooth, and for some reason it's horrible. It's granular. It's not the same as it was, and it's a real problem because I need the good stuff, because I spray the glaze on, and it actually left too much texture on like when I sprayed it, it didn't stick to the piece. It just fell down to the bottom as in clumps. It was horrible. I had to figure out, I had to work it out so that I could actually just, spray it. And I didn't quite get, I did an okay job, but it wasn't like what I really wanted. And I can't use that copper carbonate anymore. So I got to find a place that has something good. And you know, you showed John Kellum's work. I need to ask him where he buys his copper carbonate so that I can get this, you know, I can get that same stuff. I suspect that the prices went up and people, suppliers just decided to buy a lesser quality, you know, and people wouldn't know the difference.
So much has changed since COVID as far as our supplies and that kind of thing.
I know, isn't it terrible?
So how much you want for that?
But it's going to be a problem.
Did you hear me?
What'd you say?
Repeat.
How much you want for the one that I asked you to show me first?
For you?
Yeah.
600.
It must be out of your mind.
Retail's 800. What? Tell me what you want to pay for something.
We talk when I see you again.
Tell me what you listen. Tell me what you want to pay for something. I'll make you a special piece.
No, don't worry about it. I'm not going to do that to you.
Hey, listen. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You told me a long time ago you wanted to buy something, and then you reneged, and I never heard from you again.
Because some people charge too much for this stuff. You know,
it's not that they charge too much.
But everybody tells me I'm reasonable. I'm not charging enough.
Don't worry. Someday you belong in the Linares collection.
You just tell me what you want to pay, and I'll match the piece to you.
How tall are those vessels?
Well, that one's about 12 inches, 12 and a half inches.
Yeah, that's a tall one.
Yeah.
You got something half side of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the handle, and you could
with weaving. You want it with weaving?
Yeah, something different. I don't want something that everybody has.
Well, hey, mine are all one of a kind, so it isn't like that.
Whatever.
Hold on. Don't go away.
I won't.
So Barry,
Sorry,
could you?
Larry.
I can hear you. Keep talking.
Okay, my question is that copper formula that you need. Is that something that you could make, even if it's a pain? Like, is that something you could make a batch of and just have it for a year? And
I'd have, well, you know, the copper carbonate's expensive, so the glaze is expensive. So I usually don't buy. I only buy maybe 10 pounds at a time. And so, you know, you're right. I should have actually. You know, but I never thought it would. I never thought it would change. It would run out. So, you know, I could have bought 50 pounds, but I didn't.
But I mean, you know, can you make the formula yourself, or, you know, devise your own formula? And the reason why I ask is because, okay.
I make everything. I mean, except I have somebody mix my clay for me. But
so wait. So what is the item that you're getting that now is kind of funky?
Oh, it's great. It's grainy. You know,
so
is
it a component? Is it a component in what you have to make? I'm just trying to understand it. It's
mostly copper carbonate. It's copper. It's the copper itself. If it's, I'm thinking that you know, the mesh size. They changed the mesh size. It's a bigger mesh size because it doesn't go through the spray gun. I have a high-end spray gun.
Right.
Okay. And it comes out very thin, nice thin coat, and I like that, but it didn't go through it didn't go through. It kind of clumped up and kind of spit out.
Could you pulverize it yourself to make it more fine?
Well, I'm thinking of that.
And because like since COVID, therethere's a place that I always ordered my gold tubing from, and I can make tubing, but you know, the amounts I use, it's so when I thought I wouldn't be able to buy it, I thought, okay, you know, once a year I could make, you know, a foot of it, because if you're going to make it, you might as well make a good amount.
Yeah.
And that'll last me for like 2, and I was like working it through in my head, and it just made me feel better that, okay, you know, so I'll dedicate a day to making it, and that'll be that. And you know, because so many things have changed or discontinued, or you know, any of that. So, you know, if the particles are too big, you know, you could, I guess, have a mortar and pestle dedicated to it or something.
Well, actually, it's called a ball mill.
Okay.
You know, it's a porcelain ball that goes inside this metal container, and you put the powder in there, and then it rotates and it pulverizes it. The other thing I can do is I never, you know, they have these grinders that grind the particles through screens. I never bought that, and basically a lot of people they're very technical go from a higher higher mesh size or smaller mesh size like 60 and then do an 80 and then do an 100 and 120. I just put it through an 80 mesh screen, and it's always been good enough. So that's the other thing, getting the grinder, the thing that grinds through the thing, and then then maybe trying the 120 mesh screen. Maybe that would change it. But some of it's chemistry because it's CuCO3. Okay. And you're putting that in H2O. So what happens is the oxygen, the copper carbonate, CuCO3 turns into CuO, copper oxide, and then the H hydrogen combines with the oxygen. Oh, it's H2O plus. It also breaks down into CO2. If you did the chemistry, okay. So so some of it's supposed to be water soluble, and none of this is water soluble. It sinks right to the bottom. Now I know about this because there was one time when I stopped somewhere on the way back, a supply place, and bought some copper carbonate, and I went, boy, this doesn't look like the stuff I usually get, because it was packed a lot smaller, and it did the same exact thing. So I recognized this, that I had bought other stuff like this. The problem is that I'm afraid because of COVID and because of things are different and prices are up and the people have changed, you know, what they're buying and what they're selling. And for most people, it doesn't really matter. But for me, because most of this glaze is the copper, there's just enough glaze to have it stick to the piece. It's more critical. So it's a new thing, and I just got to figure it out. I just got to work it out.
What a pain in the neck.
I know. But listen, with clay, it's always like that. When they mine something, and you can use it forever, and it's great. And then they mine it, they're 20 feet away, and the trace elements create a whole different thing. And this is very common with potters. And then you see on the pottery websites how people are going, hey, whatever it is, it doesn't work the same anymore, and their glazes suck, and they have to work it out. And this is very common. Now, it hasn't really happened to me ever until now. So, so I actually got away with whatever, so.
Hey, Barry, have you
Bonnie?
checked with Mike Taylor?
Not yet. This just happened this week. So I haven't checked with anybody. I'm going to go to my supplier because that's outside of Madison. So I'm going to go there first. I'm going to bring him a sample of what it looks like and see, he did tell me where he bought it. So I kind of, where he bought it in bulk. So maybe we can work something out, or maybe he can direct me to where I can get it. That's, good. But yeah, I'll try Mike Taylor, I'll try anybody. But I looked at John Callum's pieces and I'm going, oh, that's how I want this to look. Not as textured as mine look. I want it to be, I can just tell by looking at it. So maybe I'll ask John.
So Barry, even I got new acrylic plastic for my cases.
Yeah.
And they didn't fit in the slats. And so at a show I was at, I kind of rigged it together on the fly, and I brought it back to the supplier. And he said, because of COVID, all these companies were not running. And so normally they gear towards, half a millimeter thinner, but on this, we're talking sheet plastic. It was like slightly thicker. And the guy took care of me and he's great, but you know, all of these things that, and I didn't test them out. I never would have thought to test out.
Yeah, that's why I'm laughing, because you took it to the show thinking it would just work, and then they didn't fit together. It was like, oh no, they're too thick. Yeah, that happens. Are you sure they weren't made in China?
He gets sheet plastic and cuts them right in his shop.
Oh, okay.
But it's the thickness. So
yeah,
the thickness of the sheet was varied, which is wild. You know,
I
mean,
no, that's not good.
So 1/8 of an inch is not 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Hey,
but
Oscar, 400.
I will let you know. I'll text you later.
Ooh, it went down in price.
Well, that would be only after I didn't sell it, you know, because where I'm going. Because I didn't have a whole lot of good.
You don't sell it, I cannot have my chauffeur bring it over.
You want me to come to Chicago?
No, my chauffeur is going to be there, so I'm going to ask her to bring it with him.
Oh, Steve? Oh, yeah, okay. Who?
Steve.
You're going to see him?
Yeah, I see him next week.
He's coming to Chicago?
Yeah, I see him back-to-back weekends.
Oh, that would be Amy Amder?
Yeah, the two, Port Clinton and then Tom Ward.
God, I haven't done Port Clinton in 25 years.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because of the shooting.
Yeah.
That's going to be weird.
Yeah. I got a lot of clients saying they're going to go, but they doesn't mean they're going to buy.
Have you done
where's
well
Port,
there?
Where's Port Clinton? What's
Highland Park.
Highland Park, Illinois.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So shooting for your life.
No, I have a customer who, like, just the week before, I sent him some necklaces, and I asked him, after it happened, I emailed him because I just shipped the week before, and I asked him, you know, if he and his family are all right. He told me that they were at the parade, and he and his wife ran into the store, the only store that was opened, and they sheltered there for hours. And his kids, they were like alumni in the band, and the band had just passed the corner like 30 seconds before the shooting, and they all ran like 3/4 of a mile to their school bus. So, you know, it's sounds, I mean, you know, what a nightmare for everyone.
Yeah.
Messed up.
So Bonnie left?
Bonnie left.
Yeah, and Larry should leave too.
Yeah. Larry looks like a tired Larry.
So Larry, do you have a recording of the image evaluation that you did, the mock jury?
Yeah.
The actual mock jury? No, I deleted it.
You deleted it?
Because this was much more informative. And
hey,
the
you
one
know what
last week.
You know what I'm noticing? From the first one to this one, they all cleaned up their act. All these booth images are so much better than the first one.
So wait, I missed something though. So you had the mock jury, but today was what then?
Well, last Tuesday, we did some of the images for the people that attended that meeting, and we did the rest of them today.
Got it. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Well, wait a minute. What it was a week ago Thursday, you had your mock jury,
2
and
weeks.
And it didn't go, it didn't go well, apparently. And so Larry wanted to redo it with us.
Carla
what happened?
Criticized, was much too critical of everybody.
Oh, so it was like a nightmare is what you're saying.
Allison, you know Carla Fox, don't you?
Yes, I do. Of course,
and her personality. So it's understandable. And I like Carla because she gives it to me and I give it right back to her, and it's okay. So
she's a nice lady, but it's just like I don't know if they missed the point. It was more nobody. I think the point was everybody that was applying there was testing, see what they need to improve before you send the images to a real jury process. Like after that jury, I went back to my old slides and submit all the juries with the old set because my new set was not ready. So probably save me a lot of money by doing that, you know.
Hey, I got a really weird thing that happened. After the doing the jurying, I thought, because somebody said, why, how come your work is not in this, you know, being judged? And so I went back and looked and I realized that I actually don't have a booth slide of my current booth look. I have an old one, and that's what I've been sending out. I just never really looked at it that closely.
Ooh,
and you know, it's funny because I thought I did shoot the you know, my current iteration. So it's just a little different. The inside's different, but it's I think it's nicer now. So I didn't realize I wasn't saying.
Oh, sorry, who were the other jurors?
A curator for a glass gallery.
And
it was
anyone
only Carla.
else?
No. But
Two,
Carl
okay.
dominated.
Got it. So it was a harsh nightmare.
Yeah, I spoke to Sharon about it, and we both thought I should delete it.
Got it.
Because this and last week's meeting was much more informative.
And the point is to help people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The point is to help people improve so they can, yeah. I get that. You know, we can always all use improvement.
So Larry,
but I have to say.
What?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go deal with the dogs.
Okay, everybody. So I guess that's the cue to say goodbye.
Yeah.
All right.
Till next time.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for your help, guys.
It was
Anytime,
great.
bye.
Net, we're leaving. You're muted.